The Light Institute and the Sanctuary of Light welcome each and all of you to this time of knowings and invite you to bring forward the questions of your hearts so that our conversation and the energies that we share today can be extended out to thousands of people who have these same conversations. So it's very informal. Please just go ahead and any questions that you have, bring them forward.
I have a question regarding the human experience of fear, especially in these time periods. And I recently had occasion to notice that if an individual finds themselves in fear, there will sometimes be a tendency to want to remain there. In other words, I can sense a resistance in even being willing to open up to perspectives that might give them relief from fear. And I was curious to understand whether that's just a human condition of being in a place familiar, i.e. fear, or if it's the kind of thing where it's so they're so powerfully trapped that they themselves are the only ones who can free them.
Remember that when we experience fear, it's not a concept, it's an energy in the body. It creates a biochemical reaction in the body. The emotional body can become addicted to that vibration. When we feel fear, it triggers a survival mechanism within us, and that's why we have fight or flight. You know, that kind of energy that comes when we have fear. Typically, however, we are frozen in it. We're in a certain kind of stratification of consciousness that doesn't allow us to realize, well, if I do this, I'll survive this fear. And so we, as you say, become the cohorts of fear. It's difficult to tell where the fear is outside us and where the fear is inside us because it all mixes together. And so the concept of the idea of saying, oh, well, if you do this, then the fear will go away or you'll resolve the issue. When we have fear, it's a constricting, contracting energy, and it doesn't allow the brain to really formulate a solution. Fear just spins around like the tiger chasing its tail. And the conclusion with fear is there is no solution. So, as you were saying, I am entrapped here. This is who I am. I won't survive this. And so the consciousness just moves in that frame as if that were reality. It creates the reality within the relationship to the conversation of that fear. It might be the situation. And so when people feel that kind of fear, they really cannot see a solution. And if you say, look, if you just do that, that'll take care of it. And they will start saying, but this could happen, but that could happen, but the other could happen. And this is the reason why at the Light Institute, when we are accessing fear, we want to shift the body's energy, the biochemical energy, so that we have a tool that will help us to say, oh, I can move over here, or I can change something and I will be safe. Because the message of fear is you are not safe, you will not survive. And that contracts us into a place of darkness. And we don't see the way out. So if you're trying to help someone who is afraid of something, typically right now on the planet is we are afraid of change. But if I don't like this job, or I lose my job, what if I try something else? Oh, that won't work, it won't work. So all of the psychogenetics that are a part of the fear-mongering that has been put in place for humanity from our religions, from our cultures, from our families, from our experiences, from our family tree, from beyond our present experience, come into play. And they are very, very strong. And so the way that we can shift that is to simply bring the attention out of the fear into something that is desired, or something that we recognize that's not fearful, it's not about the fear, so we turn the attention. For example, we might ask for a color that will release that. as soon as you pick a color, you've given permission on a psychic level to change the vibration in the body. And so without thinking about it or trying, the fear simply dissolves. But I think I know what you're talking about in terms of trying to comfort someone or say, that's not important, or don't worry about that, try this over here. And what I've noticed in collective consciousness is that when we are afraid, we squeeze, we contract into what we know. So people are going back to old aspects of religion, for example, that really don't serve us right now, but it's a place that they can hang on to because it's been psychogenetically incorporated in their genetic encoding. So we go back to basically encoded responses in life. So if you want to help them, probably your solutions will get nowhere. Any person that works with other people emotionally knows that pattern. It's actually a pattern where you say, how about this? No, because of this. How about that? No, because of that. How about the other? No, can't do that. And it's no, 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 but, because. And so you have to shift their focus. And so instead of, well, let's do this to fix the fear, you might take the conversation out to something that's different. Maybe it's a place where they feel safe. You know, it might be, you're really a wonderful artist, or you really have a compassionate heart. And so you begin to bring their consciousness into a place where they have some security, they have a different sense of themselves. And from there, you can build something that you can come back around and say, you know, what about this idea? And then they might say, yeah, that might work. But initially, they will not go for any solution you have, because they can't find one themselves. And so we have to build a base whereby they can identify themselves from a perspective that is fearless. That's why I wrote that book, the Healing of Emotion, Awakening the Fearless Self. So awaken the fearless self in them, and then they are able to say, yes, I could change that. Or yes, I am this kind of person. All right, so with this inside me, I can go forward. So thank you, because we need those changes. We need courage today. We need to become fearless. In the end, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? Basically nothing. No, basically nothing. You can lose your job. You probably will not starve to death. You will just get pushed into figuring out something else. We humans have a terrible habit, and that is to dangle over the precipice of disaster. And when we feel that last cosmic boot that's about to push us over the edge into the abyss, we suddenly go, wait a minute, I have another idea. But we like to be afraid. We like to get over the edge there before we will say, okay, I surrender, I will change it. And that's a pattern, it's a psychogenetic pattern that's very important for us to recycle right now, which means changing only because we're forced to. What is that expression? Necessity is the mother of invention. That's what I'm talking about. Wouldn't it be nice if we changed or we created something for the fun of it, as we did as children? Because let's see what happens. Because we know that if the thing we're building falls apart, oh well, we just build something else. Because that is the process of evolution. There's nothing so important about feeling that it falls apart. That's just our growth pattern saying, oh, that one doesn't work. Turn around, go the other direction. We're intelligent. We learn in that way. And but let us learn with the play of it. What else? What else? Yes.
So I've been experiencing all of this joy, and last night, like my toes were like, they were just jumping because it was like, they want to go. And so how can I build on that? How can I build more on that? And, I weep with gratitude. I'm in a really good spot, and I want to, expand that.
Mm-hmm. One important thing about that is allowing it to happen. Because if any of you have ever tried to say, okay, I'm going to be happy now, or I'm going to be ecstatic right now, I have every reason to be ecstatic, nothing happens. And so what you want to do is when those moments come, especially when it comes as a vibration,
Oh, yeah, it's
it might be a good time, but if all of a sudden it comes as a vibration, that's when you want to anchor in the imprint. And so you want to free it from your toes, and you want to suck it. You want to actually suck it up your body and really focus on feeling it in every place, allowing your cells to tingle, allow yourself to get out of control. And especially when we're alone, we have that expression in Eastern philosophy about kriyas, where the body begins to shake because the nervous system cannot handle that vibration. So it attempts to balance itself by shaking or crying or tears or laughter or any of those things. Those are all moving that energy. So allow it to come up and then focus it. And a good way to focus it is to imagine that you're just spreading it out across the world. Because when you do that, suddenly you become the giver. And being the giver, as you've heard me say many times, the giver has the power. But beyond the power, the giver is participating. The giver is alive. The giver is the source. And so suddenly you have that power of manifestation, of visibility. So when you're extending something like that, all of a sudden, and if you allow it to just extend out, you might begin to see visions. Suddenly, you might see something happening at work, or you might see a person that belongs to you that's coming to you. There are many different points of reference that may suddenly pop into your consciousness, and you just want to keep focusing that energy to anything that pops into your consciousness. You may have a thought, you might imagine that you're the great princess or something. It's just coming from another lifetime. So go into that thought and dress yourself in that way, or allow the visible aspect to come forward. The more that you do that, the more it will come into a close proximity to you in order to manifest it in any way that comes into form. And so being in a good space right now always necessitates opening up and receiving the energy and giving it off. So you want to first fill the body and then feel that it's coming through you, and then you extend it out into the world. And in doing that, you will become visible. It's with the visibility that we manifest. We don't manifest when we're constricting with fear. We don't manifest when we're the power behind the throne. We only manifest when we're willing to be visible. We're willing to be seen. And we have that beautiful sense of orchestration. The more that you allow your emotional body to feel that happiness, to feel that goodness, and the more you give it away, the more it'll come to you. We can never make it come to us. We can just find ourselves in that situation. The more we acknowledge it and the more we use it, the more it comes to us. It's just like telepathy, or practicing the piano, or being a healer, or having wisdom. The more we use the faculty, the more amplified it becomes. And that's what you want to do with that. Is you want to, for example, imagine this. At this moment, you're in a good place. Almost nobody else is.
I'm a delusional woman.
Forget that. What's a delusion? All that matters is how you experience it. If you experience it and somebody else calls it a delusion, that's their problem. They can't imagine being in a good place. So use the delusion and the illusion and the vision and all of that, and be the giver of it. So imagine that everyone around you, because what can turn off your happiness faster than anybody else, than anything else? Somebody around you that's in a bad mood. Your boss, your child, your friend. If they come in and they start complaining in the world, your happiness just goes like that. And so if you become the giver, suddenly everyone around you has that opportunity to shift up and say, things are pretty good. Actually, I think I feel safe. Things are all right. you know, and so then you are seeded. You know, my favorite story is Johnny Appleseed, throwing out the seed of happiness, throwing out the seed of survival, throwing out all of those energies of success and letting it grow. So you're in a great place to be the source, to be the giver, and spread it around. Spread it around. You know that at the Light Institute, we would walk around and just spread that energy. And I would recommend practicing that. I would recommend getting out in public as much as possible. And carrying that. Going through a mall and walking through the mall, saying, I'm so happy. And let that happiness just ripple out of you. Everywhere you go. Go to the market. Go to the park. Go someplace. Get out of your house and just be the source of that happiness. And again, it's usually safety that brings happiness. It's usually a sense of everything's okay that allows us to bring forward the inner child and to be funny and to let go. Because spirituality, happiness, wisdom, you can't get those things from seriousness. They don't happen from that. Spirituality is funny. And we are the funniest animals on this planet. So there's lots of places to get humor from the self. So thank you and congratulations. And let's all have some of that. Send it out, Dixie, and we'll all have a little of that.
All right.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's it. If we have that little giggle, there's nothing that can destroy us. We really are indestructible. Because we have purpose. That's why we're indestructible. Because the soul will come again and again and again. Because we are evolving. And our evolution is changing the divine source. Talk about God. It's your evolution that changes the God force. That changes the cosmos. That changes the planets. That changes the universes after universes. Because you are in form and you are evolving. And that is a great point of purpose. And that kind of purpose includes laughter and funniness and fall on your face. Who cares? Imagine when you were a child and you could be running at full steam and fall on your face and get right up. Nothing hurt you. Nothing could hurt your physical body. Nothing can hurt your soul. Nothing can really hurt you if you have that vibration. Yes, what else?
Well, where did all that seriousness come from? What's that about?
Oh, I don't know if you want to get me started on that. but I can make a point of reference to that I think we can all relate to. And that is that from the dawn of consciousness, the dawn of time, when somebody had something, they wanted to keep it. So they started building laws that related to being able to be the most powerful one. You saw me write that in the evolution of God. The one that connected to the spirits, the one that connected to the gods. We identify ourselves in certain ways. And then in order to keep that identity, in order to keep that identity, we began to construct around ourselves. And that made us become serious. If I do that, I'll be able to win the argument. If I do that, I will please the gods. If I do that, I will have money. So we started seeing our lives in our activities. If I do this, then I get that. And as we did that, we formed even groups. Shamans formed groups and tribes. We gave everybody a title and a place. And then, again, we said, you can have that title after you do a certain amount of work. And so, to be a lawyer, you have to pass the test. And we make it as hard as possible. To be a doctor, you have to pass a test. To be a healer, you have to pass a test. We make tests to graduate from kindergarten. You have to pass a test. You have to make sure that you don't color people green because people are not green. So we start laying on all of this stuff. The more that we create those laws, and you have to do this, the more serious we become, because innate that conversation is, what if I fail? What if I don't get past kindergarten? What if I don't get the job? What if I don't find a mate? What if? And so there are these consequences. And though it is true that there are the laws of karma, they're not really that way. They're really cause and effect, action and reaction. If I giggle, it's going to cause an effect, and it's the effect I want. It's going to be contagious, and all of you are going to start smiling. And we're all going to relax, and we're going to forget about what we have to do to survive. So that kind of seriousness is an old primordial collective consciousness that has to do with what does it take to survive. I better not make the gods mad at me. I better find the food. I better be chosen, etc., etc., etc. That primordial energy is still within us. This is why we do the incarnational work of the Light Institute, so that you can see yourself in a different body, so that you can have 5 deaths, 10 deaths, 50 deaths. By the time you've had 5 or 10 deaths, without even being aware of it, your fear of death will start dissolving. And our fear of the consequence of life goes away. We will live. And in that living, we'll allow ourselves to be happy children. Because after all, who is it that comes up with the ideas? It's somebody who's dreaming. That's how Einstein got all of his. Jung got all of his by dreaming. They just let go and they embrace their illusions. You know? Jackson Brown said it well. He said, hold your illusions until they shatter. And when they shatter, pick something else, do it again, and do it again. And so that's why. That's why humor is such a valuable point. And I'd like to do a little exercise in consciousness right now. Because when you were children, you had an element of humor. You thought it was funny. Like, heaven forbid, I thought it was really funny when red ants and black ants would fight. Can you imagine? But I thought it was funny because they would wiggle and squiggle and they would run around. And I just thought that was kinetic. I didn't get that they could kill each other. They were just merging in red and black. And then suddenly there were mixtures all over. And I would sit and laugh. You know, we all have humor inside us, but we've forgotten how to use it. We've forgotten how to use it for our hearts. Heart disease is one of the major problems on the planet right now. Why are we having a heart disease? Because you're squeezing your heart. You're physically squeezing your heart. I learned this myself. And so what makes the heart relax? Laughter. Pranayama. Whenever you do anything in here that vibrates the heart, lets go, the blood flows through it, and everything starts to function as it's supposed to in our world. And so I would ask you now to close your eyes. Take a deep breath into your body. And ask your body to take you into a memory or an experience in this lifetime when you were laughing, when you had humor. Maybe you made a funny joke. Maybe you thought jokes were funny. When you related to humor and laughter and giggles and play. We have millions of these kinds of memories, so just let one pop in. It could have been yesterday. It could have been when you were a tiny child. That's it. Ask your body where it's holding that memory at this moment. It could be in an organ, it could be in a part of your body. Where are you holding that memory? Where you had humor, where you had laughter and giggles and play. Wherever that is that you sense in your body, bring your conscious awareness into that place and open it up and imagine that that power of humor is flowing through your body right now. And it's nourishing you. It's taking away your fear and your anxiety and all of your I have to do it, do it, do it. It's taking it all away. And it's just allowing you to be present with the sensation of giggling, of funniness. And as you feel that nourishing your cells, take a deep breath and imagine that you're radiating humor and laughter and friendliness and safety and fun out from your body through your auric field. That you're giving that humor off and saying, I'm a humorous person. I can make you laugh. I can make you laugh. That's it. Woo! Now everybody, take your hands and reach out in front of you. I want you to feel this. And just imagine that you are feeling laughter and humor and tickles. And as you do that, wiggle your fingers. You will feel electrical currents. Allow yourself to feel it. They're real. You're not just imagining these. These are real currents that we have created. And this changes the world. And open your eyes. It's that easy. It's that easy. What else? Might make you hot. And let me say something about that. Sometimes we feel heat. We feel heat when we think about certain things. We feel heat when we're learning how to extend light from our solar plexus. Heat comes because energy is built up in an area. And that might be energy that you've been holding that you haven't allowed out. You haven't allowed yourself to giggle or cry or open up or be unafraid. It especially happens in one of my books, Ageless Body. I did a conversation about the endocrine glands. And this is a great exercise to practice if you want to feel something, if you want to feel heat. Just put your hand over your genital area and then simply ask your genitals what color they need to function perfectly, which means to allow you to have orgasms, to allow you to smile, to allow you to feel energetic as you did when you were a child. And if you feel that energy there, you'll feel heat coming. It's one of the places that we can always feel heat whenever we energize this area. So that as children, it can come from this prison here and flow through our bodies and make our faces smile and our ears red and allow us to look around at the world and be present. This is what we need. You want to be fearless because you got into body through sexual energy. You need to look at the theme of sexuality. It's one of the most powerful sets of sessions we do at the Light Institute because everyone has a conversation about sexuality. Everyone. And it's wonderful to explore them. And once you do it, it's not so scary. And you can redefine who you are. And that's when we become the masters of our bodies, the masters of our choices, and the power to be visible and say, I'm present in this world. I'm not afraid of anybody else because I've got the life force energy. I've got the divine energy because you can't get into body without that. What else?
I have a question. It's around the idea of superheroes. We've talked about it before, and
Yes.
as Anne was asking earlier about seriousness and so on. My question is this: what qualities do the superheroes use? Now, not comic book superheroes, but us. And I know that even because of humor and so on, but speak something to the more tangible expression that people can unlock in themselves or recognizing themselves as a superhero. I guess something like that.
The main thing that separates superheroes from us is that they have self-confidence in such a way that they manifest. It isn't necessarily in doing, although we often think of superheroes as people who thought up a new generation of computers or played music at 5 or were able to change matter or any of those things. So we think about it in doing, but what's causing the doing isn't coming from a thought. It's coming from the energy of that person who is not afraid, who is not conscious of contraction, but who is playing. Name any superhero, whether it's a spiritual leader or it's a basketball player. And if you watch them, you will see this thing that we talk about in sports. We call it being in the zone, which means all of a sudden you are this reality. You're not thinking about yesterday, tomorrow. You're not thinking about whether somebody likes it. You're completely involved in this. And because you're involved in it, you perform miracles. You are in a zone of the superhero, the limitless energy. You are attracting to you cosmic frequencies which allow you to manifest because you are unlimited. You are open to that. So if we aspire to be a superhero, and as you know, we had a class at Nijoni which was about superheroes. It was about accessing heroes, thinking about who is your hero. And this is a great exercise that I recommend to you when you leave this knowing class today. Sit at home or wherever you are and simply ask your higher self, show me a superhero that I aspire to. I wish I were that person. And don't limit yourself. If it's, a Jesus the Christ, or if it's the mastermind of whatever, it doesn't matter who it is. And then in your consciousness, look at the qualities that they hold. Because different superheroes have different specific qualities, although they all have one generalized quality, which is absolute entregarse, allowing the self to move into something bigger. That is the innate quality of a superhuman. But if you can identify something, they're loving, or they're intelligent, or they can move their body, or whatever it is you see in them, and then ask your body where you hold that. Because you cannot see or recognize a superhero unless you have a frame of reference. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in another lifetime. For their power, for their generosity, for their capacities, for the energy that they bring into a room, for the way that they look at you, for the vibration that comes from all the thousands of ways that you would say that's a superhero. Because they have changed. So another thing I would say about superhumans is that they are the agents of change. They never say, oh, let us keep the status quo, let's make it the way it is. No, they say, watch this! You want this change. You want this change, and then they demonstrate it for you. And you go, aha, I knew that, or I can do that, whether it's jumping off a ski slope, or whether it's recognizing a concept that you never thought of before, and then you suddenly go, but I knew that, of course. I intuited that. So they demonstrate to the world. So if you want to become, in your lives, a superhuman, a superhero, then feel those energies in you and imagine that you are enacting that in your world. You don't have to be in their world. Imagine your world. Right now, it's so amazing. Look at television. It's full of people who can do things that other people cannot do. All of the successful movies right now are about people who do superhuman things, whether it's some spy movie and they're jumping from one building to another. They're doing something and your mind will go, how did they do that? We all want to fly. Every human wants to fly because we have a frame of reference for it. Every human wants to connect with water, though they have fear of that water, because it's innate to your essence. And we need models, we need templates for that kind of energy. Each one of you are the apex of your pyramid. Whether it's simply your lover and you and your dog, or you and 3 colleagues, each one of you, even if you're in the same triad, is the apex of that. So each one of you have the energy of the agent of change, of the superhero. Again, a hero, just take the word hero. A hero means that they threw away the fear of the self and they did something for the good of the whole. That's what the word hero means. So a superhero really means enacting your purpose, aligning yourself, your ego, in such a way that you're not thinking about the self as separate. And you perform, you create, you part the waters. You part the waters in such a way that others can pass through there. So I would say, thank you for bringing that up, because I would say, aspire to something in your life and imagine yourself doing it. It's incredible how many things you can do. And I recently had the experience of a hummingbird whose heart was not beating. And I held the hummingbird and I said, live. And pretty soon, and the hummingbird flew away. Am I a superhero? Yes! I'm a superhero! And so are you. And so never miss the opportunity. Instead of, oh, this is impossible. Here we are. We're butted up against a wall. We can't change this. Just let your higher self show you the way through. Now, it wouldn't have mattered to me if the bird had stayed dead. What would have mattered to me was that I imagined, yes, if you choose, come back to life. Come back to life. And see what happens. Practice some of the miracles that you've been presented with in your life. Healing a body instantaneously. Breaking bread and imagining that if you've created food for people, that suddenly this food just seemed to keep feeding people. We have templates for this. Imagine walking on water. That's the one that I am working on, because it's a collective consciousness. You know, that a superhero could walk on water symbolically, and of course, Jesus is the Christ, he did it. If he could do it, why can't you? You can. I did it once for a few seconds and then I fell in the mud. But I did do it for those few seconds. And so, of course, what's the purpose of it? The only purpose of walking on water is to realize that you could do that, so how do you apply that? Some of you will be breaking boards tonight. Not through forcing it, not through making it happen, but by saying, I break the board. Why do we do it? So that in your consciousness, you can begin to apply that. What else shall I do? What else could I create? Could I facilitate? Could I bring forward in this world? A superhero is not a martyr. Let me bring forth that conversation. In the past, through our religions, we have psychogenetically imprinted, if you're the good guy, you have to die for it. Well, let me just tell you, that's very useless, because then you can't help anybody else. So that's very selfish of you, taking yourself out of play. No, that's not the game we're here in as a collective group. We are here to live. We are here to evolve. We are here to lift humanity, our species, into a new octave. So none of this, I'm a martyr and I die for the good. No. That belonged 2,000 years ago. It doesn't belong in today's world. On the other hand, people, and a lot of people, are leaving the planet right now. Acknowledge their power. Don't cry for them. Well, it's okay to cry. But don't feel, oh, how terrible, how terrible. Honor the power of their spirits to choose this moment to leave their body. People are beginning to do it in groups, not individually, because it doesn't make a big enough splash. So they're doing it in groups now, because it makes a much bigger splash. Not just your friends and family, but wow, multiple friends and family, and colleagues and newspapers and collective consciousness. Thank you. You're leaving the planet. I will reinforce in my body, you are here to get the job done, to laugh, to play, to anchor in life. May it be so. What else? Yes.
Maybe it touches superhero conversation. I have throughout my lifetime always dreams of being able to levitate, and it's
Yes.
not like a flying, it's more like leaping, like a crouching tiger.
Yes.
And that's the only dream I have the hardest time of coming apart from reality. Basically, the only reason I know that I might have been dreaming is that I asked people that were there that I was showing it off to, said, no, you never did.
You're still sitting there. Forget those people. They just can't see. They can't see. What's really important about continually feeling that capacity to levitation, of course, first of all, you know for sure that you have done it in other incarnations of your soul, and that it has purpose for you. It may be that in one brief instant, in which you're imagining, you feel as if you're leaping up, that you're levitating up. It doesn't matter whether you're really doing it, because in imagining it, having the sensation of it, it will align the mind of your cells to that. What happens if you can levitate? You can't have a disease. You can't be saying, I can't make it through this. For one instant, you are a superhero. For one instant, it's not about what's keeping you down. It's not about your limitation. It's about in the inaction. This is why we come into body again and again and again. Because it's through manifestation that we create evolution. The stars are not evolving unless they explode, unless they push the gases, unless they change the universe. The same reason we do. If you are feeling as if you're levitating, you are aligning your cells to that. And don't worry, you'll probably get a chance to do it in this lifetime where everybody else can see it. But in the end, it doesn't matter. How can you apply that? Well, levitation, first of all, if the earth is shaking, good idea to levitate. Very good idea. If the volcano is flowing over here, good idea to just bilocate over there. So there are plenty of ways that you can use this. Not because you're afraid, but because you can. Because you can use your body with purpose. And so you want to applaud yourself. You want to applaud yourself. Every time you levitate, you will make your body more cosmic, more healthy, faster frequency, which will allow you ample possibilities for figuring out solutions. You do not have to be entangled in the I could do it, but you can't, so I'm stuck, which is one of the major themes for humans in relationship. I could do it, but my boss won't let me. I could do it, but my husband won't go there with me. I could do it, I'm in tandem with this and this and this. Forget it. Forget it. Be a superhero and be the wave shower. The wave shower. Watch this. Now, practice that and extend it out to the rest of us, guys. Absolutely. What else?
Can you talk about the sexual energy and brain?
The sexual energy in the brain is fascinating. It's really fascinating. The Chinese said everything is connected to everything. So there are many ways that we could look at that connection. We could say, if your sexual energy is dried up, if you're not using your sexual energy, if you're afraid of your sexual energy, if you have it bottled up down here, the Shakti energy, the Kundalini energy, the vibration of life cannot nourish your brain. It cannot create new neurotransmitters or new neural pathways which keep you young. So we need this energy, and we need this energy to get up in here. It was interesting to me the other day when I was playing around with neurotransmitters to discover that serotonin, for example, we think of it in the brain, it's actually created in the intestines. What is an intestine area? It's the I am. It's the who am I. It is the actual sexual area. It's not the first chakra, it's the second chakra, which is connected to the who am I, the tantin. That's why in the Eastern traditions they use this. Send it out through there, and you could knock somebody over with that. Well, we're coming up into here because we've evolved from the tantin kind of energy. But it's interesting to me that serotonin is actually created in the intestinal level, in this level, and fed to the brain. So, and vice versa, if the brain is not being fed dopamine or serotonin or many of these other juicy energies that say life is good, life is fun, then the brain shuts down and it looks out in the world and the world is gray and nothing is moving. When nothing is moving in the brain, the endocrine glands are sleeping, the receptor cells and the genitals are not receiving the hormones that give us the little wiggle, that bring us the heat, that bring us the juice. And so they're absolutely connected. Another way to look at it is people sometimes in sessions, in consultations will say, it's in my mind. When they say it's in my mind, I know they mean it's in their brain. It's because we think this is the mind. But in fact, the trillions of cells of your body, each one has mind. Now in the human species, it's because we have a nucleus of the cell. So we have a physiological focal point, which is a threshold from the manifest to the unmanifest. So the mind of the cell can actually take you into another incarnation of the soul. The mind of the cell can get hot, it can fire, can literally fire off electricity. And so we have mind in every cell. So if we have mind in every cell, we have brain in every cell. What's a brain? It's just a center of energy. Viruses don't have nuclei, but they have the essence of nuclei. They have mitochondria, which are stimulating that goes on. It goes on. So there's an absolute direct connection, as the Chinese say. And the first lesson of healing that I was given is you want to affect the brain, get down here and wiggle the big toe. Well, what do you know? We know that in reflexology that the master glands have nerve arcs in the big toe, and that the big toe represents the brain. Stimulate your big toe, see where it's tender, and you're going to be feeding your brain. Now the brain is 90% water. What happens when you actually open your sexual energy? You get juicy, right? You get juicy. You're either shooting off that sperm stuff or you're liquefying your vaginal area, opening up, whatever. That juiciness, whether it's viscous or it's water energy, it's linked up. It's linked up. And that's why, if you want to feed your brain and you want your sexual energy to be juicy, just take a glass of water, put your hand over it, and feel that alignment, that energy you're going to put in the water. Juicy, juicy, juicy. Brain full of new pathways, sparking, energy flowing into my genitals. Yes, drink it down. And in a minute or two, you'll feel pretty good. So they're all connected. And we want to, and this is why at the Lannister we think it's so important to clear sexuality, is to look and see, where have you shut off? What imprint do we have, certainly in the Western world, in most of the world, sexuality is, in the Eastern world we have to separate the men and the women. They can't even pray to God in the same space because, my goodness, that guy might be not thinking about guy, might be looking at that girl. And if he is, then he's not going to be doing God any good. What kind of noise is that? That's so noisy it almost hurts my brain. You know. So nobody in this room can say that your sexuality is free and juicy at all. You're not. And so, because we have not only your themes of sexual energy, but we have your collective themes that go back from the beginning of time. And certainly from that imprint that, how can we please God? How we can please God? Well, the first thing we better do is, since sexuality is so powerful, it distracts us. We'll just get rid of that distraction. Instead of, God's in you. Be distracted. You might come up with a brilliant idea while you're distracted, because it might carry you over here, and suddenly you will latch on to something that will make you a superhero, and no one else has ever figured out. Because we don't figure it out from the past. We really don't. We figure it out because we're being bombarded by energy that's not future, that's not present, that's not past. It is cosmic. It's essence energy. That's how we figure things out. I'm having fun. What else? There are a few red faces, it's all right.
You talk about we talk about this in the bridges, the negative feminine, and then you know how all that works. And if some qualities, so I understand if the negative feminine has down energy, but what about if there's like lying and jealousy and qualities like that? What is that? And how do you get rid of it?
Okay, so feminine energy is, we could say on some level, yin energy and yang energy each have qualities that intersect. They absolutely intersect. But the yin energy is the feminine energy of the unmanifest. So it has the idea, it has the potential, it has the possibility. And unfortunately, because it's not manifest, it will have illusions, and it will construct, it will try to construct, it will try to be masculine. And that's called the negative feminine. And so what will happen is that it will feel negative energies, and it will try to use those negative energies to destroy rather than create. And that is jealousy, seuni, envy, telling lies, creating the webs of untruth, and whispering about somebody else, all that kind of that's called the negative feminine. It all comes because of uncertainty, because insecurity, because the essence of it is still essence. It hasn't manifested, so it can't wave the flag and say, I've got it, follow me. It's just saying, I'm here, can you follow me? You know? And so in order to survive, the negative feminine will destroy everything else, like the black widow who bites her mate so that she can survive. It is black widow kind of energy, the negative feminine. And so it wants to take over that space. Ultimately, it will destroy itself, because jealousy is a terrible, all of us have experienced jealousy. Is it not terribly painful? It's terribly painful to be jealous and to be envious. And of course, when we try to destroy the other guy, which we call self-righteousness. I'm going to survive, I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy, I'm going to kill you, and I'm a good guy because I kill you, because I make lies about you, or I make you smaller. That's all self-righteousness and negative feminine. But once I've killed you, I'm alone. So who do I fight with next? Who do I relate to next? And so part of our evolution is to come back into our essence so that we can feel a place of security that is not whether you get the job or the people agree with you or somebody invests in you or any of that, so that you don't have to destroy. If you're around people who have negative feminine, the only way to answer that is to shine the light, because negative feminine is darkness. It's the pit of darkness. Now, it's always been interesting to me that the Tibetans would say that females, or feminine energy, is the blackness of space, because it's unmanifest. It's the dark black hole. Well, that whole, according to Chinese medicine, and certainly from what I can perceive, has to come in the light. It has to come into the light. And that's called evolution. So the yin becomes the yang. And sometimes in order to get rid of the negative feminine, we have to come into the essence of the self, and then we have to express it. And so the negative becomes positive, and then expresses itself, becomes yang. And the manifest begins to hunger for what it can't see or feel, but it can know, and knowing is feminine. And so it then reaches into the void, into the darkness, across the veil into the unmanifest, and feels the essence. And that is the yin and the yang and the evolution of all the universe. And so when you have negative feminine coming at you, all you have to do is move over. Just move over. One of the ways to move over, of course, is using the yang, which means what frequency of light do you need from me, extending that. And then shifting your attention someplace else. Or you might be able to solve the problem for the person who is negative. So what I want to say as we end this knowing's time together is, don't run from the darkness. Don't hate the darkness. Don't fight the darkness. Simply become the giver. Find something that can be given to it, and then shift your attention someplace else, because you are in a hologram. There is more than one way to get what you want, to manifest. There are millions of ways to manifest, and especially manifesting something new. If you're manifesting something new, you're always going to have another feminine. You have to play outside of that to move
Well, I
beyond.
sort of ignore it. I mean, I ignored it for a long time, but then it kept coming back because I,
Well,
you know.
then if it keeps coming back, you have to look at the negative feminine in you and clear it in you, so you can actually put your attention someplace else, because that isn't who you are. So, be the superheroes. Embrace that positive feminine knowing that each of you have, and laugh about it.